Scoring props are fading fast. August 31st won't last, but don't you stress, don't delay. There's a smarter, sharper way. It's Lead Score Monday with Casey. Just 15 minutes, sharp and pacey. Learn the tool, prep your team, make your scoring system a dream.
Good morning, afternoon, LinkedIn. Thank you for joining Chris and I this Monday. I need to change the screen for this song because this isn't a 15-minute one.
Uh-oh.
Chris has made many songs for LinkedIn Lives, and I have noticed all of the songs I make, Chris, are children's songs.
Maybe
I don't know
appropriate
how I can't. Yeah.
for this topic.
I don't know how to make a song. Like, this is the second song I made, and that was when I was like, oh, apparently all of my songs are children's songs. That's just
Well, I'll have to share the episode that Rob and I did, creating Suno songs live several months ago.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah, there's a learning curve.
Today, Chris and I will be chatting about the new deal score feature in HubSpot. If you don't know what we're talking about, no problem. This was just released last week, so you may not know what we're talking about yet. However, on June 30th, so like just about a week ago, HubSpot announced that we will now have the option to score deals and companies using Sales Hub Professional or Enterprise. So this is really two updates in one, in my opinion. The first update is what it seems like the update is, which is that you can score deals. You could always score companies. But the second update is that deal and company scoring is now available if you have a Sales Hub Pro or Enterprise subscription. I know we talked about this a little this morning. Chris, do you want to share your initial thoughts on this?
Since I haven't been interested in scoring prior to now, this is very surprising to me. That it hasn't always been this way. But as soon as I understand that it has been this way, stuff like marketing and sales misalignment starts to make a lot more sense.
Yeah. I mentioned this on the morning show. I mean, two of the biggest complaints I was hearing from people when I talked about the scoring tool sunset, the first was complaints that you didn't have the option to score deals. And the second complaint was that it was only available, the lead scoring app was only available for Marketing Hub. Then there's the customer scoring app, which was available for Service Hub, but that left specifically Sales Hub with no scoring capabilities, which with the scoring properties being sunset on August 31st, that is kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
And I know, Chris, you have a lot of grievances with scoring and have historically winced pretty much anytime the term lead score comes up. Do you want to just share a couple of your thoughts on why you don't like lead scoring traditionally?
It's like what CPQ is to sales, lead scoring is to marketing, in terms of like, it's maybe the most complex thing, very hard to get right. And when you do it right, it is insanely valuable. When I think of scores, it's like we need quick visibility in order to prioritize activities as a team. And since it's so hard to do and requires so much alignment across teams, this was one of the reasons I wanted to distance myself from a marketing label over my head. because it's always something that leaders want. First of all, like in principle, it's great. It's a great idea if we can get there. Leaders always
Mhm.
ask for it, especially
Mhm.
when you start talking about marketing automation platforms or HubSpot in general. Lead
Mhm.
scoring is always a top 3 request.
Mhm.
When you don't have clean data and your systems aren't integrated, you have to literally manufacture forced scoring, right? And when it's just associated with HubSpot and marketing automation and the marketing team, you're setting up marketers for failure when
Mhm.
they're running just as fast as they can to the sales brick wall because that team's not involved. That team's asking for leads and everybody around you is asking for leads. Um, and maybe that could have been done like 10 years ago. But
Mhm.
when I started really getting into this, when I joined a bigger company and marketing's expectation was to do leads, right? It was easy to see like, no, like marketing can't just go do stuff and then create value for the rest of the organization. Like the rest of
Mhm.
the organization is the one that creates value. So why wouldn't they be involved, right, in the conversation, the customer facing
Mhm.
conversations?
Mhm.
So it's just like another, it's always been another like, quick win or easy button to think like, oh, um, we're doing a bunch of stuff. Let's score it, and then we'll be able to say, yeah, sales, here you go. These people are quote unquote ready. And it's just I've found it kind of like clean CR and kind of like clean CRM data in general.
Mhm.
You have a hard time finding truly clean portals.
Yeah.
When you
Yeah.
understand that the scoring is based on that fact, of course, scoring is usually not great either. So
Yeah. I just talked to Sarah Lane Hahn this morning and spoiler alert, or I don't know. I'm gonna talk to her on a live next week, so keep an eye out for that.
yes, she's
Um,
awesome.
but about lead scoring specifically, but one of the things I mentioned to her was that like so often lead scores get set up, then they get with best case scenario, marketing talks to sales about the score, uh, and but oftentimes the sales team is not involved in building the score. They're just like aware.
Yeah,
um, but then the lead score gets set, and then it just sits there, and then a new CMO comes in a year or two, and then we just do the whole song and dance over again. Um,
yeah,
and or a new head of sales, whatever, like some new leadership person comes in and says, "We should be prioritizing these." And we were like, "We are." And they're like, "Well, not good enough." So then we just do it again.
yeah. And this is in the world where like sales actually wants you to prioritize their shit for them, which in my experience they don't. Like
Mhm,
it's so hard to reach the scale required where they're like, let me go through the leads list. I can, in reality, they can. They can do a much better job of prioritizing things based on, what they already know about all this context that lives inside their head.
mhm,
Um, and this is from experience. Like the myth of tools like HubSpot is that it can handle this stuff for you.
mhm,
In that I joined this organization, spent 3 months just talking to everybody, including the sales team. I started with an olive branch of Sales Navigator, right? Got that implemented.
mhm,
And then it's like, all right, let me gather all the feedback and then I'm just going to go build this magnificent, marketing system. And when
mhm.
I deliver it, you're going to be happy because you're going to remember 3 months ago, we had a conversation about how you like your leads and what you care about as a salesperson. Well, nobody remembers those conversations.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
this whole concept of marketing leading digital transformation and going over here to just go do marketing things, it just doesn't work in practice.
It's true. So I mean, there's a couple. This update specifically brings a few things. I think the big one that we're kind of dancing around here is that sales alignment. Like, it's impossible to say sales is involved if sales doesn't have access to the tools. And at the end of the day, I do think it's silly. It's silly that the lead scoring app was just for the marketing just for marketing. Because it is a sales and marketing tool. It's just I mean, sales enablement. It's a sales enablement tool. Marketing is enabling sales. So to have it just in marketing it always just is a big gap, in my opinion. So it is good to see it there. If you're wondering where the lead scoring tool is in your portal, at the moment it is still in the marketing menu item. So just be aware of that. But I think the other side is this deal scoring functionality. And I have not personally set up a lot of deal scores, not nearly as many as I've set up lead scores and that like handoff scoring. However, I know in these conversations I've had with people who have been upset that deal scoring wasn't involved in the original launch of the lead scoring app or the scoring apps together, that a lot of teams were using deal scores. It was helping them, one, prioritize, but to your point, Chris, a lot of sales teams don't want you prioritizing their leads. But I do think it's a good signal for leadership potentially to see which deals not only are the most likely to close, but maybe have the biggest income potential and things like that. And you can build multiple scores in the new scoring tool. So in theory, you could build like a likelihood to close score as well as like a good fit deal or things like that too. So there's some flexibility there, and your deals, none of your scores have to achieve multiple goals at once. There are limits to how many scores you can build, and it depends on your subscription. So unfortunately, you are limited in some aspect, but don't shoot the messenger here.
Yeah, I think overall the push towards like health scoring in general to identify like which relationships are in good health. Like, does this person trust us yet? If so, maybe I should reach out. Like, it's a different sort of prioritization than, but it's the kind that like a salesperson inherently goes through, like on a day-to-day basis. Like, I just saw them last week. I just saw them over here post about this on LinkedIn. So this means they're thinking about it, and now I'm going to reach out to them, right? Like all that kind of engagement plus fit can start to be built in a way that looks like it just takes a different approach. Like instead of looking for the people who want to buy right now, you can, if you can change the mindset to like, which group trusts us the most right now? Like, because you can, but you have to design it into the score in order for that to be an outcome, right? And that's where you put lead scoring next to health scoring, next to deal scoring, next to company scoring. Sorry, health scoring isn't next to them yet, but
it's hidden away in settings.
Yeah,
Hard to
like
find.
all this scoring, like what are we scoring? It should be this health of the relationship, like how much trust we have built, loyalty stuff, not like, all the stuff, like it all starts to work together where if we want to truly score fit and engagement level based on not knowing who they are, like, surprise, it makes us buy data. It makes us de-anonymize people,
Mhm.
possibly in unethical ways. Now, all this is very empathetic to marketers and salespeople on the ground that are just trying to do their jobs that they have been asked to do. And that's, a lot of what Value First is about, is trying to change that dynamic. Like, so many decisions are made in service of KPIs and not in
Mhm.
service of people. And we need to change that.
Yeah, I actually, the call I was on just before this was about a client that I have that's working very diligently to enrich a lot of company data in HubSpot. They're specifically using Apollo to enrich it. And some things that we're quickly facing with that enrichment, even, is the accuracy of the enrichment, the duplicates. I just saw a bunch of the records had domains set to Verizon when they are not. Um, but I think all of that often is in an attempt to score on these fairly arbitrary things. Like, that specific attempt is to score based on, or prioritize based on, revenue and location. That's not enough for us to have any meaningful information on how likelihood that company is to even have a conversation with us. Um,
Right. And that's right. I mean, in that way, like, you can only be serving prospecting there, right?
mhm,
And if
mhm,
the sales team is the one that has to prospect, like, the fact that they would not be involved in that conversation, like, makes zero sense at all. Everybody's set up to just get pissed off,
mhm,
including, most importantly, the person you are reaching out to,
mhm,
right? So you're starting off from a place of, like, distrust,
mhm,
right? And sales has to get so lucky, to find one that actually, because it's completely random at that point.
mhm,
Um, when in so many cases, and this is where, like, when you start to match the social side of HubSpot, what they've been doing over there, it's not hard to find these people online and learn about who they are and what they like and what they care
mhm,
about and whether they have a problem that you can even solve. And I
mhm,
think from a customer or prospect standpoint, we just want to know that you care just
mhm,
a little bit, like, just a little bit. Like, everybody's busy, but when you get, um, when, like, for example, when HubSpot partners get emails about needing to buy HubSpot, or, like, any kind of improvement related to HubSpot, the platform, like, that says immediately, like, you have no idea who I am or what my problems are or what you
mhm.
might be able to help with, right?
I get emails from HubSpot all the time asking if I need help setting up my HubSpot.
Yeah,
I'm
and
like, I'm
that's where I guarantee there's a score back there that is focused on the wrong things. Like, it's focused on certain pieces of HubSpot. That's where we get into the customer success scoring side of things. But, like,
mhm,
we decide these scores because we need a score, not because we're asking, if it's healthy or not,
mhm,
right? It's a mindset shift. But the beauty of these new tools is that you can make it, you can shift, right? It's never been this easy to
yeah,
shift.
mhm,
Um, so I think where there's a will, there's a way now. We just have to create the will.
mhm. So let's take just a minute to take a look at the new functionality in here. So as I said, the scores are still under the marketing menu item as of July 7th, 2025. I have no idea if this menu will change tomorrow. But right now, if you go under marketing, you'll see lead scoring here, and that will take you to this. And if you click create a score, so if previously, if you had Marketing Hub Pro or Enterprise, you had access to contact scores and company scores. And as of last week, even Pro had access to the combined scores, which was another common complaint of the lead scoring app. However, now if you have a Sales Hub Pro or Enterprise subscription, you'll also have this deal score as well as I believe it's company scores, my understanding at this moment in time. Specifically, if we look at the deal score, we can click create. And now we can score based on events and properties. Events, I believe, would be, on related records. So the contacts associated, what have they done, is kind of the main thing here. Meetings, emails, things like that. These are going to show the associated contacts engagement with your company. And then the properties are going to be either on the deal or any of the associated records. And those are essentially what the old scoring app was just properties. So from here, you'd be able to score things based on, Chris is going to disagree, but I think there is reason to say if there's $1 million deal versus $100 deal, maybe the $1 million deal might have a higher score. It might be a higher priority.
I do not disagree at all. As long
Okay.
as we understand that there's much more than the fact that it's $1 million
Mhm.
involved in the score, right? There's this has to provide value for the company and the people in it as well, right? We're not just laying down to give customers whatever they want because they actually don't need that. They need
Mhm.
us to show up as an equal partner in solving their problem.
Mhm.
And scoring is often very flippantly provided to prevent that until we get on a call, which at the
Mhm.
end of the day is what I'd say anybody across the customer facing team wants to get to, because
Mhm.
we all believe that if we can get somebody on the call,
Mhm.
then we can talk them through how there's a fit and what the challenge is.
Mhm.
Um, I'm excited about this obviously creates more leverage for the data model. And again, we come back to getting this part right. And
Mhm.
I've learned so much from Joshua Oakes about how he sets up objects to support deal tagging and lists and how all that comes together to give sales and sales leadership and marketing for that matter. Anybody who cares about the deal pipeline, very clear understanding of what the
Mhm.
blockers are, where they are in the process, and why they are there, instead of not having a system that supports that, having some data in the system, but then having the real understanding come out during the weekly sales meeting,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm. So just thinking through, I know we just have um, a couple minutes left. Chris doesn't like to do 30-minute lives, but I
I'll
tricked
take
him
the
into
blame.
one.
I'll take the blame. That's
I
fine.
tricked him into it. No, keep you moving. So thinking through things that would make a valuable deal score, and that's where I started to play with a little bit of stuff in here. Um, Meeting outcomes, like if they've had a completed meeting, if positive score, if they no show or cancel, subtracting some scores and even rescheduled is a subtraction maybe, kind of showing how engaged the people are is what I'm trying to get at with that stuff. I already mentioned deal amount, I think is reasonable. Obviously what that deal amount is going to vary on your business. If $100,000 deal is small for you, then $1,000 is not, the threshold here. Um, so, you're going to adapt to that as needed. Some other things that I think would go into a score I would build would be things like your deal type. Um, Obviously, there may be some things that you're selling that are higher value. For example, in my business, if it's a retainer versus a project, a retainer is probably going to be more valuable to me, even if the actual like amount looks lower, because it's renewal, it's reoccurring revenue. So things like that you also might want to take into consideration. Are there what other kind of engagement factors, Chris, would you be looking at for deal scores?
I noticed ticket. There's a
Mhm.
ticket option, and that would be something.
I think that was in the properties.
There's one that you scroll past pretty
Oh,
quickly. But
type, type, don't scroll,
yeah,
right?
search before scroll, says
Search before
Mr.
scroll.
George B. Thomas. And it should be as easy as the thing that happened. Did it build trust or did it take it away?
Mhm,
Right? Not even taken away, but did it not? Because if it didn't, it probably did take away.
mhm,
And that's where we start to get in like the spam emails. If somebody accidentally got wrong email, or an irrelevant email, like irrelevant touches throughout the process, or relevant painful touches, which would likely be a ticket,
mhm,
right? Um, those kinds of things, like it becomes fairly a zero sum game. Like
mhm,
when you can boil it down to like, did this happen? Does this thing build trust? And have we done this consistently enough? Which is where like engagement and fit like start to work together, where the relationship is healthy, right?
mhm,
And it's valuable for the business. It's valuable for both involved,
mhm,
right? And that's where the revenue amount, whether it's a retainer or not, whether it's recurring or not, I'm always thinking of, recurring business. That's why ticket showed up for me. Like a lot of people struggle with the way to like prioritize customers instead of net new. And this is where it should all align with KPIs,
mhm,
which should align with revenue goals, for the company. Because a score of like the $1 million sale is likely a lot harder, right, to close
mhm,
while being revenue wise, obviously a lot more valuable for the business.
mhm,
But when you just like, if the KPI is number of closed deals, I'm going to go find as many $1,000 wins as I can. And
mhm,
those $1 million deals sit in pipe forever, right? Even though they might just be a few actions away,
mhm.
right? So there's a ton of value in, um, finding the balance between simplicity and complexity is a challenge. That's why it starts with, are we capturing all the data we need in the ways that we care about? And then we can start to build scores that make sense.
Yeah, and I think that context is really important, and, like, I think it's also really important to evaluate the deals your closed won deals over the last year. Um, I especially say the last year because I find often people will look at the closed won deals after over the last 5, 10 years, and the world has changed a lot in the last 5 years, and so your business and what's selling might have changed too. I have a client who was laser focused on selling these really big deals. They, sell to hospitals. They were laser focused on selling these big deals, but those deals needed the entire hospital C-suite involved, basically. Um, and to no surprise, it was very difficult to get the entire C-suite of a hospital aligned and sold on your thing, whatever it was. Um, what we saw was selling, which is something they had deprioritized, and not only like deprioritized internally, like discussion wise, but also they were putting fewer resources towards these smaller deals. Um, and even with fewer resources, fewer incentives to close the smaller deals, they were still closing those at a higher rate than these larger deals. Um, and so just recently they reached out and were like, So we also noticed that those people we were selling the smaller deals to, they're moving up the ladder.
Mm.
And we've built this relationship with them. So now they're introducing us to the rest of the C-suite, and now we have this warm introduction for the larger deals. Like, all of that really to say just the big number, again, the big number is great. It's great if you're selling $1 million deal. Um, however, don't forget that that $1,000 deal could turn into $1 million deal also.
Yeah. And that's why the move that HubSpot's making right now, I think a good example is Customer Agent, like coming out of Service Hub, right? Because it can serve the whole life cycle.
Mhm,
Campaigns tool can now associate with knowledge articles and so many assets, like sales sequences and sales documents and all these things that used to be siloed. Well, like humans don't think in silos when they're like experiencing a company,
mhm,
right? And
mhm,
that's like speaks to the impossible challenge that marketing has. Because if you're a systems thinker and you know HubSpot can do this, but then you know that that sales strategy does not exist in the company,
mhm,
like you're setting up scores to create dysfunction because the KPIs and the whole structure is not built to incentivize the team to do what you just described,
mhm,
right? And that's because we don't have visibility and we either look at the last 10 years or the last quarter,
mhm,
right? And nothing in between.
mhm,
And we often think about it from a sales and marketing only lens
mhm,
when the customer success team might be over there. Like they're the ones like with all the opportunity related to people commenting about how much they love the product and love the experience and all this stuff.
mhm,
And they're in a different system and they don't have any way, uh, except for in these one-off meetings, with other teams where somehow everybody's just supposed to understand like the nuance and the opportunity of all
mhm.
this. So if you're asked to do a score, you have to find a way to have strategic conversations about what the goal is, right?
Mhm.
Of the organization and then of the team that's asking for the score.
All right. So, some takeaways. Things we like about this. We like that Sales Hub is now included in the scoring app for a few reasons, but the main one being just the visibility and the more alignment between sales and marketing. Fair. Um, we
100%.
we like having the option to deal score. Um, and then our caveats are and continue to be making sure that your score means something. It's not a vanity metric, and you are adjusting, but also discussing it with everyone that the score impacts, not working in a silo, and looking at what truly shows what deals are more valuable, and that's more than the dollar amount on the deal.
Customer life cycle, customer lifetime value.
All right. Any final thoughts, Chris?
Just think about it from a trust building perspective and relationship health. And this gets so much easier and more commonsensical.
I think the hard part of that is when you close the $1,000 deal, it doesn't feel as good in the moment as closing that $1 million deal. And it's hard to see. It's hard to well, it's impossible to see the future of that $1,000 deal making it to $1 million, but it is possible.
Sounds like a part two.
I'll see you next week, Chris.
Thanks, Casey.
All right, enter my children's music.
Scoring props are fading fast. August 31st won't last, but don't you stress, don't delay. There's a smarter, sharper way. It's Lead Score Monday with Casey. Just 15 minutes, sharp and pacey. Learn the tool, prep your team, make your scoring system a dream.